I'm leading this session today as a part of our yoga psychology training group, which is also a part of our 300-hour yoga teacher training and a part of our 800-hour teacher training, kind of like nesting dolls, right? They are all connected. And in this training right now, we're looking at the process of tapas, svadhyaya, ishvadi pranidhana, Kriya Yoga from the second pada of the Yoga Sutras. It's Yoga Sutra 2.1. Tapas means discipline, svadhyaya means self-study, and ishvadi pranidhana means surrender. In loose terms, those are some basic translations. We go more deeply into those discussions in the training so you can really understand each of these components. But in today's practice, I wanted to illustrate a couple of things. One is how to practice tapas on the mat with your mind, with your breath, with your body. Another is where you can have svadhyaya or inquiry within the practice without it becoming mental journaling during your asana or pranayama practice. A third thing I wanted to illustrate is how we come to the second chakra. And you'll hear me reference that we have to bring vata and pitta doshas back home. The second chakra is the water element. And why are we hanging out there in the second chakra? I'll go over those things in this session so you can experience that kind of weaving together of threads into a beautiful fabric in this practice. I hope you experience it that way. As always, if you've not yet subscribed to the channel, please do so. It helps us to keep producing content for everyone. And if you like a certain practice, hit the like button. If you benefit from the practice, hit the like button. If you have questions or comments, leave those below the video too. Thank you very much. See you in the practice. Welcome for practice. I am glad to be with you. And what we're going to be exploring in this particular practice is associated with the process we move through from tapas to svadhyaya to ishvadi pranidhana. The realm of svadhyaya, which we consider to be really the second stage of development in yoga therapy, in that realm, we have some responsibilities for investigating, inquiring, exploring more deeply. And we often can do that by looking back at the tapas phase of our journey in yoga therapy. In that phase of yoga, tapas means discipline. It's a time of stabilizing, of nourishing, of building our personal routine, our dinacharya. It's also a time of building our resilience so that we have not just the fortitude for daily life, but as I like to say, the fortitude for the sometimes arduous journey of svadhyaya. For in self-study, we're really looking in at the human condition and acknowledging even our inclinations and susceptibilities to much of the human condition that we would probably have aversion towards. Sometimes we have aversion towards self-kindness or self-compassion or self-empathy. So it's not always that we have aversion for things that are unlikable, like we feel we have a lot of cravings or resistance, or maybe we're petulant sometimes and we don't want to admit that to ourselves because now we're a yogi. So in the svadhyaya phase of yoga therapy, we're asking about our personal healing, but also our personal conditioning. Often we see that in the rearview mirror, like how I once was behaving and what I once was doing. But we're also asking about the human condition and our collective healing. And that collective healing is really essential right now in terms of looking at this practice of svadhyaya. We could apply that to the climate crisis that we're all facing and we're all a part of. So the work that we do in yoga is sometimes historically looked at as, oh, you're doing that navel gazing thing. You're doing that self-centered thing. But actually to dive in and to explore this kind of personal healing, personal understanding, and personal exploration, we become a better citizen. I like to think of myself as a global citizen, and I'd like to be a better global citizen. So in the tapas phase, which has been well established for me now for decades because of my longevity in yoga, you can always keep renourishing it and recalibrating it and kind of refining it, but it's really the phase of stabilizing your commitment to your practice, sadhana, your commitment to your routine, dinacharya, your sense of resilience for the ocean waves of life like this. And it's something that we personalize to understand through our dosha and also through the lens of the gunas. When that's established, we then have this foundation upon which we can then traverse the difficult mountain climb of svadhyaya to see finally at the top of that mountain, there is a perspective of freedom. And that phase is called Ishvari Pranidhana, which I'll speak about in a different session. So with svadhyaya, we do want to have compassionate inquiry skills towards ourselves. Svadhyaya inquiry skills can be loving and kind and warm. They're not inquiry skills of like examining and then criticizing or denigrating. It's really very much the opposite of that. So to get us there, I'm going to be focusing today in the second chakra, the realm of the second chakra. So please take a comfortable seat. You can rest your hands in your lap. You're welcome to close your eyes. Allow yourself to begin settling in, taking in what I said, but also just allow whatever was meaningful from what I shared to kind of sift in. You don't have to clutch for it or grasp for it. Allow your breathing to help you in arriving here in the present. Welcome the inhale to drop down into the pelvic floor and to fill the pelvic basin. The inhale also does expand into the mid-torso, back waist, side ribs, and up into the heart, including the space between your shoulder blades, the front of the heart, and the collarbones. And that does not need to feel like a humongous breath, just the pathway of the breath. You can have a lesser quantity of breath and still experience all of those regions that I just mentioned. At times you may want a large quantity of breath in all those three regions, but at this moment you can keep it simple. And begin your exhale also at the pelvic floor, and just picture a gentle kind of zipping upwards of the belly. Include the skin just above the pubic bone and the journey up towards your navel, solar plexus. And even the act of simply asking ourselves to breathe in a thoughtful manner, this is an act of tapas right here. We're requesting focus and concentration, a kind of discipline for the mind to be present. And simultaneously, we're getting a glimpse of what the mind is actually doing. So for the moment, I'd recommend that you acknowledge that, but don't get entangled in it. You might see that the mind wanders, but you can also bring it back. The act of bringing the mind back is tapas. And we bring it back not to punish the mind that wanders, but to resource the deeper mind of wisdom and discernment. It is the habitual, superficial mind that does all of that wandering. Allow yourself to go deeper by staying concentrated. Please do 3 more breath cycles in this way. Stay with complete concentration on the pathway of the breath. And then please raise your hands to your heart. You can release that breathing practice. And here our prayer this morning is, may we know Sat versus Asat. May we know Jyoti and not get lost in tamas. May we experience Amrit and not be confused by Mrit. So we say, may I know the real from the unreal. May I know luminosity from darkness or wisdom from ignorance. And may I know the infinite from the finite. This prayer is in Sanskrit. And the translation in English that I just gave you is listed on our website now. There are practice chants up there. If you'd like to be able to see those, you can send us a message or check the link in the comments below the video. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. Okay, you may release your hands. You're welcome to open your eyes. So in the practice of a simple meditation, we want to orient ourselves towards tapas to get more grounded, have the mind be more focused, more present, to return resilience to the system, to shore up what I call the leaks in the garden hose. And for those of you who are using a garden hose to get to a destination, you don't want it to have leaks along the way, unless you're using a soaker hose or a drip hose on purpose. So if the hose is meant to get to the destination, let's say you have a bubbling sprinkler there for your fig tree, just if you have a fig tree, you want the water to get all the way to the bubbler, not to be leaking out along the way and then have very little to water the tree with, to water the purpose of the hose, the purpose of the water. So in this regard, when we're practicing some aspects of yoga, we are not going to go into inquiry, svadhyaya. We're going to stay in tapas. Like being on your mat may be a time initially of tapas, 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 come back, come back, come back. And then being on your mat, there's going to be this kind of dual operating system, like a radio broadcast. Your mind is still doing its thing. The habitual, superficial mind is still doing some of its things. So if we can come down and actually resource ourselves in that resilience, you're tapping into like a water table under the surface, a water table of wisdom, like a deep well of wisdom that is there. So the second chakra is the water element. And if that second chakra has lots of leaks in the system, what we end up seeing is craving, grasping, clinging, wanting, desire, and also aversion, resistance, reaction. And so we can end up on this pendulum that's just dissipating the resources that could be used for your vitality and your resilience. So for the time being, we're going to bring attention down into the second chakra to resource, to have a greater sense of your resilience. The water element being our vitality and resilience, it's also this deep access we can have to wisdom. So with this in mind, I'm going to sit back a little bit further from the camera and encourage you to sit cross-legged. If you're not now sitting cross-legged, please do that. The knees can go out to the side. Great. And as you're sitting, just check that you've got the surround that you need to do a side bend to each side. Okay. And then take your palms and turn them face up, palms out to the side. And inhale, raise your arms slowly. Make a commitment here that you're going to bring your energy down and in to the second chakra. You're kind of gathering it back for yourself. Okay, so breathing in. And now bring that energy down. You can even imagine you're gathering energy from nature, from the sun and the moon and the stars. You're also saying, I'm going to bring my energy back home. So gather it, gather it, gather it. And exhale, come back down. And please do that one more time as you breathe in. And exhale, return your energy down to the second chakra, even taking the mudra of the second chakra like this and resting your hands there at the second chakra, which is going to be in front of the bladder. And you can ask yourself, well, how would my life be if I were oriented towards my vitality and resilience, not towards grasping or aversion? Now take the arms out to the side again. And this time, as you inhale, sweep the arms wide as we were just doing. And on the exhale, side bend to your right. Place the right hand down on the floor and side bend. Okay, inhale, raise up, raise your right arm. Exhale, side bend to your left, placing your hand on the support to the left. Inhale, raise back up using the Ujjayi breath. Exhale, come down into your heart and down to the second chakra. Again, arms wide, inhale. Exhale, side bend to your right. Inhale, rise up, gathering energy from nature, also gathering your own energy back in. Exhale, side bend to your left. Inhale, raise up, gathering energy from nature. And bring your own attention and energy back down and in through the heart, through the solar plexus to the second chakra. Okay, same thing one more time. Breathe in. Exhale, side bend to the right. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, side bend left. Inhale, rise up. And exhale, coming down, down past the throat, past the heart, past the solar plexus to the second chakra. But now, as you're sitting cross-legged, walk your hands out in front and place them on the floor in front of you and gently bow your head. When you come into this forward bend, start noticing the inhale moving into the lower belly and then towards the sacrum, up into your kidneys, the back of the waist, and maybe even the back of the heart. And as you exhale, tone the lower belly. You could picture like that zipper quality. In a way, you might imagine that you're zipping up some of those leaks in the garden hose. And then inhale again, pelvic floor, deep low belly, the sacrum, back waist, kidneys, the back of the heart. And exhale to draw in from the pelvic floor up the front line of your spine. And then walk your hands back towards your knees, rise back up to your sitting position, hands at the place of the second chakra. And again, you can use this one question as an echo. How would your life be if it were oriented to vitality and resilience? Now for the next pose, I'm going to join you on the floor, which means transitioning. And that'll be helpful for you to see where we're going to go with this side bend, forward bend, twisty thing. So let me take myself back to my mat. So when sitting cross-legged, we're going to go forward. Let's consider this to be like noon, but then we're going to go over to the side and we'll go to the right side first. And for those of you who don't reach the floor comfortably, you can put blocks in front of you. So when you come forward, if possible, let me back up a little bit more. So I'm going to stay in your frame. If possible, your head's going to touch the floor, or perhaps a block or a blanket that's folded there. And then from where your hands are at noon, walk over to what you might think of as, in my calendar, that would be 10 a.m. So walk over to 10 a.m. And on the inhale, again, imagine the breath moving from the pelvic floor to the sacrum, to the back waist, your kidneys, the back of your heart. And on the exhale, draw in from the pelvic floor up towards the sacrum, zipping up the front line of the spine. And now as you stay down in this position, place your left forearm on the floor so it goes horizontal to your shoulders, right? And then take your right hand to your right knee or to the floor on your right, and please twist your torso to your right. As you're twisting, there shouldn't be any jostling about of the hips or the pelvis, but rather a stable base there for your sitting bones, your sacrum, your hip joints, and your pelvis. So rotate through the inner belly as if you're turning the inner organs and your navel to the right. And then through your kidneys and your heart. And then exhale, well, let's release back towards 10 a.m. And walk over to noon. So now we're going to go to 2 p.m. on the other side. So walk the hands over. As you place your hands, if you've put a support for your head, go ahead and bring that with you. This kind of inward and downward sort of pose here is really restorative for the ways in which pitta and vata dosha tend to carry us up and out of the pelvis. So really think of the breath here nourishing on the inhale, the back of your sacrum, the back of your waist, your kidneys. And on the exhale, tone the pelvic floor, especially the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor, and move that tone up towards your solar plexus. And then place your right forearm across the mat, horizontal to your shoulders. Take your left hand to your left knee or to the floor nearby and twist to your left. And as you're twisting, again, keep the right sitting bone and your right hip grounded. Rotate one more time to your left. And then exhale and return to 2 p.m. And back to noon. And then up to sitting. And once again, what we'll do is a reminder to ourselves. Inhale, sweep the arms wide. And exhale, bring it back down and in from nature and from your own, like closing up those leaks in the garden hose. Place your hands at the second chakra. The word for the second chakra is svadhyaya, and it has the same beginning as the word svadhyaya. Svad means the self with a capital S. Okay, please bring your knees up and then place your knees bent and feet hip distance apart like this. You can come off of the blanket. I'll put mine aside. Okay, so this will now be my right and this will be my left for real. A moment ago, this was my left and this was my right because I was mirroring you, but now I'm going to go on this little angle. So place the feet hip distance apart, bend your knees so they're up near the torso, and check that you can reach forward in your own comfortable way and bow the head a little bit. So again, it's a pose that goes more inward and asks pitta and vata dosha, which are the fire and air doshas, not to overspend the water element. So sense the breath down low in the belly and also across the back of your waist. Exhale completely and then bring yourself up to sitting upright. Cross your left forearm across the knees and hold the outside of your right knee with your left hand. Walk your right hand behind you and please twist to your right. And try to stay mostly upright with your torso right now so it's kind of snug right here. You can gaze over your right shoulder in any way that you like. Eyes closed, eyes open, eyes down. I will say if your vata dosha has been really active and flighty, better for the gaze to be down or eyes closed. If pitta has been driven, don't try to have a firm drishti on something in the distance, but rather close your eyes and relax them. So your eyes have a lot of governance over your brain and therefore your mind and your doshas. And notice how the breath moves in this twist. Can you still inhale through the sacrum, the back waist, the kidneys, the back of the heart? And then exhale up the front line of the body. And know that with each purposeful inhale, with each purposeful return for the mind to be here, you're restoring pitta and vata dosha. And also dropping down into that water table or that under the surface deep reservoir of wisdom. And let's rotate around to face forward. Change sides so you can put your right elbow, now it's my right side, and your right fingers across to your left knee. Try to keep the knees hip distance apart so they're not coming together. Walk the left hand behind you, please twist to your left. check in with the breath moving through your body. So both a sense of like receiving the breath and appreciating that, as well as working skillfully with the breath. Your next exhale, come around to face forward, and then again, drape yourself out over. You might even hold your toes if you can reach them. I quite like that stretch. It adds to the back body and the myofascial system there. Notice the breath is going to have a little resistance against the front of the abdomen. So your inhale is going to have to expand across the back and the sides of the torso. And then bring yourself upright. And this time we are going to lean back slightly. So if you were vertical here, now take your hands and place them behind you. So you lean slightly back like a little back bend. Okay, from here, turn your right hand to point backwards. Raise the left arm up with your inhale. And exhale, cross over. So if you'll place your forearm to the outside of your knee without the knee being pushed in, that's a stable base. And then rotate your torso to the right. And there is a slight lean back here. This was vertical like a maypole. Now we're leaning slightly. I don't have a good image for that at the moment. Notice how the breath changes. And particularly start to get curious if you might have access to the right low belly or the right side torso, like between the ribs and the hip bones. Does the breath come through there? On the exhale, you can start getting curious about how the exhale supports the rotation of the spine, especially the low belly, how it supports, like when you wring out a sponge, you squeeze it, and you do that with the exhale with kindness. It's not like you're being forceful or denigrating anything about the body. And then rotate around to face forward. Okay, so still a slight lean back. If you'll place the hands behind you, this is a good way to measure where you're starting. Then turn the left hand to point backwards. Bring your right arm across. Make that pressure really stable between your left knee and your right forearm. And that might be part of the tapas in this pose, is that this is stable. So are your sitting bones. And lift up through the spine and drop down into your breath. And see if you might access the sense of the left low belly, left sideways. And during the exhale, that feeling of like squeezing or wringing the belly out, as it were. And then please come back around to face forward, come up and over. So you can take again the hands over your feet if you like. And then bow your head towards your feet. Relax the back hemisphere of your body. And ask the pitta dosha and the vata dosha to kind of lovingly come back home, to allow this water element to be not an expense. You're not just exploiting it or expensing it all during the day. And then once more, rise up to sitting, and this time bring the right knee in, take the left leg out. For some of you, when you sit like this, it looks like if you put a blanket under your hips, it's going to give you more range of motion. Part of that is because of the shape of your hip joint, so don't take any criticism in it, but if you just take even a portion of your blanket under your sitting bones, like this, then your pelvis is going to have an easier time tipping up and forward. Yeah. Okay. So let's make this pretty snug as if you were doing a squat. And bring the left arm up. Right arm, excuse me, this is still my right arm. And then come to the inside and reach towards, if you can find it, reach towards your left foot. You need not hold it directly. You could put a strap around your foot. And then bow your head again. Now, ideally, the right knee is going to stay kind of snug towards the torso. And we are trying to stretch the back hemisphere of the body. We are also deliberately compressing the right hip for a few moments. So allow the breath to find its way to the back and the sides of the torso. And exhale thoughtfully, aware of the pathway of the exhale. With your next inhale, sweep your right arm forward and rise up. And then exhale, twist to your right. Let's make the left arm snug around the right knee. So you can use your hand if that makes it more snug to your torso. If you're someone whose elbow crosses easily here, you can do that. If you prefer not to cross your elbow, that is totally fine. But as you're rotating, really think of the belly turning, like inside the skin of the abdomen. The organs get a chance to turn, but the breath is still expansive on the inhale. So there's both a welcoming in quality with the inhale, and then a kind of, expulsion or release or dissolution through the exhale. What are you letting go of? The inhale is, we say, bringing in vitality. The exhale is cleansing, releasing what is ready to go. And then exhale, come around to face forward. Now take the right knee and tip it out to the side, please. And the pose becomes janu sirsasana. So again, we're prioritizing in the forward bends, we're prioritizing vata and pitta, coming back home and letting us inhabit this water element in the second chakra, like svadhyaya, the home of the self. It is not over there at Google. It is not at Intel. The home of the self is not in the faraway destination of some beautiful adventure. The home of the self is here. As Karen said when we began class, paradise is within. So coming to the home of the self, inhale, raise your right arm up. And then exhale and bow forward. You may be somebody who can reach your foot comfortably. You might need a strap, or you may just surrender holding onto your foot. And as you're coming down, again, prioritize the inhale into the back hemisphere of the body. Allow your effort and your attention to be inward and to be aligned with the purpose of your practice. And with an inhale, raise your torso up. Maybe it's about 45 degrees angle from the floor. And if possible, cross your right hand to the outside of your left foot or to the outside of your shin. So you've got a place where you can press your right arm against your left foot and twist your belly to your left. Now in the twist, notice how your breathing is moving. Can you sense the back hemisphere of the body on inhalation? And then exhale to release. And let's rise up to sit for a moment in sirsasana. So you can, or whatever cross-legged position works well for you, you can choose. Yep, as you make that choice, and bring the hands back into the mudra for the second chakra. You might notice the difference in your body from the right hemisphere to the left hemisphere. And you can ask again, how would your life take form, or what might it feel like if you were led to vitality and resilience and a commitment to both of those? The opposite of that being swung about by craving, grasping, clinging, aversion, resistance, reaction. Let's do the other side of the sequence now. So if you'll bring the knees up and then take your right leg out straight. I think I'll turn myself so I can keep seeing you. So right leg out straight, left leg up. So this is now my left leg. I got to remind myself. Inhale, raise your left arm up. And then come forward just to the inside of the left thigh, and possibly you'll reach for and be able to even hold on to your right foot. And as you come forward and down like this, let the back of the body be breathable and broad. Notice the pathway of the exhale. Exhale breath is cleansing. Inhale breath is revitalizing. With your next inhale, sweep your left arm forward, and as you rise up, come up to a high seat, and then cross your right hand around your left knee, left hand behind you. And based on your preference here, you could continue to hold with your hand, or you may prefer to bring your arm across your knee and make that firm. So that's one of the places of tapas. Right? Rotate to your left. You might again choose to close the eyes so that vata and pitta dosha come inward and downward. Use the breath to balance your intention and your actions. And we're going to exhale and come around to face forward. And take the left leg, open it out to the side. This is kind of a straight on forward facing janu sirsasana, though there are times where we might do a side bend version of janu sirsasana. Let's face towards your right leg. Inhale, sweep the left arm up. And then exhale and come forward. There you go. In janu sirsasana, it's an inward and downward pose. Invite it to be restorative for you and to really feel into the sensations. Those sensations are happening right here in the present. And the breath is a wonderful anchor for your mind. So too are these sensations. Notice how your body responds when you're offering attention. And I would say attention as kindness or appreciation. And then raise your torso up maybe 45 degrees from the floor, or if that's where you already are, that's wonderful too. And we're going to take the left hand up and over to the outside of the right foot. Place your right hand on the floor to your right or on a block, and please twist to your right. And allow the breath to come inward and downward. The inhale for revitalizing and the exhale for releasing or dissolving, for cleansing. And then rotate back around to face forward, and let's bring the right leg in to sirsasana. So now you have had each side. Perhaps you can even change which ankle goes in front for you so that you'll have the chance to feel each of your seats, and then take, this is the mudra for the second chakra. And fall back into our echo question, the reflection question. How would your life be oriented if it were for vitality and resilience? Something to keep in mind is that this vitality and resilience at the second chakra precedes service or purpose at the third chakra. So don't think it's off the radar screen. We aren't saying it's the totality, but what might happen if vitality and resilience were restored and craving and aversion were not so powerful. Okay, now I'll face forward and we can take a seat. It's called a wide seat. The word in Sanskrit for this pose is upavista konasana. And again, for some of you, it's going to be helpful to sit up on a blanket. Actually, in my case, it's not that helpful because I have a very flexible upavista konasana. So I'm someone who might just like fall forward and lie on the ground. In that way, I won't do that right now because I'm teaching for you guys. But also it's not helpful to exploit existing flexibility. So when I come off of that blanket, it means that my sitting bones are more rooted and the sense of staying at home in my pelvis works better. For some of you, the pelvis won't tip forward very easily. In that case, sitting on a blanket is really helpful. And let's think of it as the shape of the hip joints, not as a character flaw. So the people who can lay down here don't have better characters than you do. If you're stuck up here, support yourself. Don't sit there thinking I have character flaws. Okay, please come forward. And when you're coming forward, keep the legs energized. So the toes point up towards the ceiling. So do your knees. And the leg muscles can remain toned even as you come forward and down. You could find a place to support your head, which might be a couple of blocks. It could be the front edge of a chair. It could be the back of your hands. And then bring your focus to the breath itself. So the inhale starting at the pelvic floor, moving across the back waist up towards your kidneys. And then the exhale from the pelvic floor, zipping upwards towards the navel. As vata and pitta dosha come back home, the kapha dosha is restored. And by the way, kapha is earth and water. So really important that we're restoring these elements for tapas, stability, and svadhyaya, inquiry. And with your next inhale, please rise up to sitting. Pick up your knees and let's put the soles of the feet together. Now, here's an interesting thing. This changes the dynamic of your hip joints. So what happens for me is now I need a blanket to sit on. So each of us, I mean, even in the process of yoga, the inquiry could be, why do I resist having a blanket or a block? If you do, or the inquiry might be, do I need a blanket or a block? How can I come to find out? So when you sit up on a blanket, so in my case, I could not even come a little bit forward, and I've only got a teeny bit of support under my sitting bones, but it does allow the pelvis to have this extra freedom. So once you find your seat, please hold on to your feet and inhale, lift up through your spine, press the knees down, and then exhale to come forward. Some people do find that their head makes it to the floor in this pose. I will not be demonstrating that. You might put a couple of blocks. I left mine in the other room, so I'm just using my imaginary blocks, my air blocks. So notice the breath coming into the back hemisphere of the body. And then the exhale, toning from your pelvic floor. You could think of the front hemisphere of the pelvic floor as you tone upwards along the sacrum. And then please rise up to sitting in konasana. And choose the awkward seat for yourself, the one that normally you don't pick. You know, you like the other one because of how the hips or the knees are. And then bring your hands down to the second chakra again. And see if you can dive in, even if you're sitting in your awkward formation. Can you drop beneath that as a potential distraction, like the craving to want to go to your familiar seat? Can you bypass that craving and drop in? Drop into your vitality, resilience. Notice the quality of your mind. Just that, where is pitta dosha? Where is vata dosha? And please open your eyes. And I'd like us to set up for a pose that we don't do very often since Zoom, because it's hard for you to see the setup. I can't change where the camera is in this room, and I can't change where the walls are. And this is not a suitable, really suitable place for me to show you. I will be using the wall behind me, but let me show you how we're going to do this. It's called Viparita Karani, the inverted legs position. It's kind of like a waterfall. It's highly recommended for a number of health considerations, including concussions, yours truly, and also insomnia and anxiety. When you do the legs up the wall and the energy is coming down to the pelvis, and then it's going to waterfall to the heart and then to the head, the thing about the 5 vayus is that they are oriented also for gravity. So if normally apana vayu, when we're sitting, the energy is going down, apana vayu, energy for meditation, prana vayu. When we invert ourselves, the energy of Apanavayu is going to go through the mind, through the head, right? Because it's going to be the lowest point in the pose. And that means that you have this kind of, I like to call it a garbage disposal for the mind. So you're just disembarking the mental patterns, the thoughts, the little dust bunnies of the mind that are ready to go downstream. When we sit back up for meditation, you'll have had an inversion, right? And that can often promote this feeling of meditation to be easier to access. I'd like you to have 2 blankets. Those of you who are coming into class from a holiday destination and you don't have 2 blankets, find something you can improvise with. And if you can't improvise, it's going to be okay to have no blankets, because sometimes this pose is done that way too. So if we take each blanket folded like this, and then fold it in half, like this, so it's about this thick, like that, and place them on top of each other. I'll take this one and refold it, and I'll put the dark one on the floor first, so you'll be able to see where that is. And then I'll put this one, it's the lighter color, so you're going to see where I end up. Okay, so these are stacked firmly, and they are just about 2 inches from the wall. And that's because I want your pelvis to be able to sit here comfortably. If you put these right at the wall, for some of you, your pelvis is going to feel like it's falling off this edge of the blanket right here, and we don't want that. Okay, so to get into position, I've been saying this next thing for like 30 years, and inevitably it works for some people and it doesn't work for other people. But to get into position, you're going to scoot near to your blankets so that your hips are right here and you're ready to roll sideways to get in here. But please watch what roll sideways means. It doesn't mean that I'm going to fall down to my left. It means that I'm going to put my hips on the 2 blankets. I lie down like I'm in bed, and then I roll onto my back. And then you can do this little thing where you pick up the hips to center them on your blankets. Okay, and so once you get yourself here, you're going to be taking your legs up the wall. So I'm going to scoot myself between this photograph, which is me, by the way, and this door frame, which is also me. That was a yoga joke. Okay, so when you come up, legs are up the wall, the waterfall comes down this way. These blankets are at the top of the sacrum. You can probably feel them supporting your lower back. Make a little back bend with the heart. Tuck your shoulder blades under. Take the arms out into a T shape. Or put the arms in cactus pose. And then close your eyes. And allow gravity to do the work in the waterfall pose. So this is helpful for your pelvic floor. It's helpful for the lymph system. It's helpful for back pain, anxiety, insomnia. It's actually even helpful for headaches. It can be helpful to the eyes. It shifts your circulation, so there is a cleansing response happening in your body right now. And that's happening in relationship to gravity. So allow yourself to acknowledge the center of the earth and her gravitational pull, which is affecting your health in a positive way right now. Allow your mind to rest on the sensations and the sounds inside your body. You may have the sensations of your head or your face becoming more full. The blood supply is moving in that direction. Your fingers might start to feel a little bit warmer or heavier. You may begin to hear the sounds of your digestive system turning back on. Welcome yourself to find deep restoration here. Allow your mind to stay present to the sensations. Nowhere else to go, nothing else to do. With the sensations and even the sounds of your body, you're in a restoration mode. So don't move off into planning nor reviewing. Habitual mind to rest, abiding closely to the sensation right here in the present. Allow this waterfall to continue and without the mind wandering away. Walk your feet down the wall. Let the knees drop in towards your chest. You can reach up with your hand to hold the backs of your hamstrings. And then please roll to your side. And in your own timing, use both hands to come up to sitting. For my seat, I'm going to join you again up close to the camera. I'm going to supervise Nakula. He came into the room during Shavasana. And if he tips over the camera, it's very bad. Let me get my seat, please. Okay, so as you rise up to your seat from the waterfall pose, sometimes people experience the, oh my gosh, I've been so tired. I didn't even know how tired I was. Sometimes they feel really revitalized or like the mind got kind of clear. So rest your hands in your lap. We can go to the mudra of the second chakra. We can stay with our one inquiry for today. How would life be if you were led from a commitment to your vitality and your resilience? How would that shape things that happen in the chakras above from there? Like your service or purpose at the third chakra. Your compassion or empathy at the fourth chakra. Your ability to speak clearly and evenly at the fifth chakra. Your ability for clear vision or clear sight at the sixth chakra. What we're going to do is a chanting practice that lets us feel into each of those chakras. We'll start at the base chakra since that's prudent to do so. So let's put the index fingers and thumbs together and those go out over your knees. Sorry for the noise, I'm just checking the microphone. Okay, and the sound is lam, L-A-M, emphasizing the opening of the back of the throat during the chant, and then emphasizing the M sound so the vibration is going inside. It goes inside the throat and up towards the head, but it also goes into the chakra. So at the first chakra for stability and for the earth. Lam, 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 lam. Lam, 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 lam. Lum 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 lum. Lum 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 lum. Second chakra. Moving the hands to this mudra, place them near the bladder. The word is Vam, spelled V-A-M. Vam, 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 Vam. Vam, 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 Vam. Wam 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 wam. Allow yourself to sit in quiet in the echo of that. As you reflect on the question, what would your life be like if your priorities were including your vitality and resilience? Naturally, you may have insights or other questions that arise. I'm going to recommend that you sit in a kind of mental reflectivity, as if that water were very still and reflecting like a mirror. Rest in the reflection without the mind moving about. So practice staying with the stillness. We have a lot of practice with distraction in our lives already, so practice resting in the stillness. Good effort to remember the indwelling stillness, the reflectivity of the water. And in that remembering, please raise your hands to your heart. Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste. Thank you so much for sharing your practice. Before you go, if you found this to be a helpful practice, please click the like button. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please do that too. And as always, leave questions or comments down below. I do love to hear from you. And if you have questions about yoga teacher training or the composition of our yoga teacher training school at any level, 200, 300, 800, yoga psychology, trauma-informed brain sensitive yoga, any of those questions, please also leave us a comment down below or check the link in the description for this session. Thank you once again. Namaste.